Hi, and welcome to Spotlight in Bensenville. My name is Frank DeSimone, Village President, and your host for this episode. Today we'll be getting to know our new police chief with our guest, Dan Schulze, who is our new Bensenville police chief. Hi, and welcome to our show. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here. I started being a police officer in 1983 and worked for the Village of Schiller Park, worked my way up through all the ranks of the police department, including patrolman, sergeant, detective lieutenant, and ultimately became their chief. It's really a pleasure to be here in Bensenville, and I'm really enjoying my time here so far. One of the other things that's kind of unique to my career is after the Palatine Brown's Chicken Massacre, the general consensus was that municipal police lacked the wherewithal to conduct high-profile or long-term complex investigations. So the answer from the state was to build 13 task forces throughout the state. I put in to be the commander of one of them and was ultimately chosen for it. I did 10 years on that task force, and we did over 50 homicides during my tenure. So that was another thing that was kind of unique to my career.
You've been on the job for a few months. What's your impression about Bensenville and its community?
They've been very welcoming, and I've been making my rounds trying to learn not only all the employees and all the different groups in the village, but also making my rounds to meet a lot of the citizens. I attended the homeless dinner at the Grace Lutheran Church around Thanksgiving time, and a number of officers also came along. But instead of sitting at a group at a table, we separated and made our way around so that everybody got a chance to talk one-on-one with one of the police officers, and we were very well received. The other departments in the village seem to be working very well, and we all seem to work very well together. There's a lot of organization, and the fire department, even though they're not technically part of the village, we've extended olive branches to them and they to us. And I've met with some of the firefighters and the chief several times, and we look forward to working closely together.
Tell me a little bit about your general management style regarding, like, say, the village manager and your relations.
The village manager is a great guy, and he keeps us all very organized. We have weekly team leader meetings that he chairs. All the team leaders are there, and we discuss what's going on in each individual department, what's happening, and then he gives us guidance as to where the village would like to go, or if there's an upcoming event. We all sit there and brainstorm as to what we can do to take part in that event and how we can make it a success. So it seems to be working very well. And again, a lot of the department heads will work together and try to figure out new ways to work together. If it's sharing software or sharing resources, they seem to be very open to trying those new things. Personally, I try and build bridges and make inroads with other departments and other employees in the village. And a basic rule that I try to follow is I try and treat them like I would want to be treated if the roles were reversed.
Most important question, what about the village board and yours truly?
Yours truly has been great, and the village board has been great. They've all, again, been very welcoming, welcomed me with open arms, and I've communicated with each of them on an individual level, and we seem to get along really well. They're very supportive of the police and the village employees, which makes our job as village employees a lot easier.
And you talked a little bit about this before, but your employee relationship, I know coming in from the outside, everybody's kind of worried and don't know what to expect. As in when we come in, when we won the first year or two, it was unexpected what to expect from us. How has that gone for you over at the police station?
I knew coming into this that I would be judged by the police officers. They didn't know what to expect, and I'm sure a lot of rumors preceded me, like would always happen with somebody new. But once we got in, I sat down and I met with each police officer individually for a period of time, and then I met with all the different departments collectively as a group and asked them what were their concerns and what were things that should be on my radar to address. The number one concern that they had was that they were always working shorthanded and they were always at minimum manpower, which made it very difficult for them to respond to calls and to do things in an orchestrated manner because there was never enough of them to go around. The second complaint they had was a lot of times they wouldn't get recognition for things that were done. I looked at that, I met with the deputy chiefs and sergeants, we had a meeting and tried to address it any way we could, and one of the things we came up with was switching to a 12-hour shift. By switching to a 12-hour shift, instead of 4 cars on the street, it put 6 with no increase in costs to the village and no additional police officers hired. So now we typically will have 6 cars on the street, and that gives us the time to be able to go around and work overweight trucks or traffic enforcement or special assignment. So that's worked really well. To address the recognition aspect, I've watched, and as officers did various things that were noteworthy, and it didn't take long for them to do them, honestly, I would bring those before the village board and before you and the trustees. And as you know, I brought up a unit citation when we had a burglary in town. The officers tracked the suspects all the way to Harvey, and then the officers and detectives stayed in Harvey several days, tracking their movements until they could apprehend them all. So they got a unit citation for that burglary arrest. And then since then, we've had 2 fentanyl reversals where fentanyl was administered to someone during an overdose, and the officers were able to bring that person back to life. So we did one of those earlier this year, and we'll be doing one actually next Tuesday at the board meeting.
I know community relations is another one you want to kind of get out. It's hard to meet every single resident, but I know you've been to the senior luncheons and you've done the events at the police station. What are your views on your community relations?
Any modern police department, in my opinion, really has to embrace the community it serves. I've said that before, and I firmly and truly believe it. The police officers here are really good at that. We go out and we do things with the community and we interact with the community. They'll stop and talk. Just this week alone, I've gotten 2 complimentary letters and phone calls on police officers in some way that serve the community. One police officer in particular stopped to help someone change a tire who couldn't change it for themselves. And again, things like that. Another police officer organized the Cop on Top at the local Dunkin' Donuts. We were there for part of the day. I know you were there as well, and we appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
As a police officer and our mayor.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. That police officer, Allison Valoy, she organized it, but she had the support of the entire police department and obviously the village board.
Absolutely.
They raised $2,500 in that single day, and all of the police departments in Illinois raised over $1 million for Special Olympics in one day.
It's good to hear good things about police officers every once in a while.
I agree.
There's always always hear the bad stuff, but we have a lot of good officers here. I work with a lot of good officers where I'm at, and it's good to see us all out in the community working with everybody. What is you've been around a long time, not that you're old, but you've been in law enforcement a long time. What is your most significant achievement in your career?
I'd have to think, but right off the top of my head, one of the achievements that I did really kind of had nothing to do with law enforcement, but it's kind of unique in that I delivered 2 babies. So we received that training in the police academy, of course, and we figure we'll probably never have to use it because most of the municipalities have a good fire department, and the fire department's always close by like we are. But on the one particular night I'm thinking of, the ambulance had left town with a patient to take him to the hospital, and it was a terrible snowstorm. So the ambulance couldn't get back fast enough. So I arrived on the scene, and the woman was obviously going to give birth like now. This was not going to wait. So her husband went into the kitchen and would not come into the living room where I was at. And they had told us in the academy, if the baby's delivered, that you should tie the cord and use anything you have available, including your shoelaces. Well, it was wintertime. I was wearing boots. I didn't have shoelaces. So I asked him, do you have any string or anything we can tie the cord with? And he said, I don't know. I don't know what I have. I said, do you have trash bags? He said, yeah. I said, do you have the twist ties? He said, yeah, I do. He brought those in and gave them to me, and that's ultimately what we used. The baby was born healthy, everything good, and just about the time the baby was born, about 10 minutes later, fire showed up and took over. But they asked me to cut the cord. As long as I had done everything else, they had me cut the cord. So that was certainly something noteworthy and something that a lot of policemen don't get a chance to do. But bringing somebody into the world is really something to, unique.
What about your views on community policing? What's your concept on promoting it with our police department?
I'd like to see the entire police department practice it. Some police departments will have the title of community police officer or community policing division, where 1 or 2 officers focus on that. And the only way it really seems to work is if everybody embraces it as a mindset. And this police department is certainly open to it, and the officers are extremely friendly and caring about the community. We just went through our CALIA accreditation, and that was one of the things during the assessment they gave us kudos on, was even though the citizens of Bensenville comprise about 48% of the population being Hispanic. There's not 48% of the police officers that are Hispanic. But that's a moving target, as you know, and if we try and attain it, we would retain those police officers for 30 years, and the demographic of the community may very well change. But what they did give us kudos for and accolades for was the police officers that are here are very sympathetic to everybody, no matter where they came from or what nationality or ethnicity they are. They seem to try and find a way to communicate with the citizens and help them all equally. And Kalia thought that that was something unique to our department and gave us a lot of praise for it.
How can residents learn more about the Bensenville Police Department?
Well, certainly you can attend things like our neighborhood watch, or if you're so inclined, come down to the police department. We're always happy to see you and always happy to talk to you. We work for you. So that's one way. And another way, of course, is the village website. Since I've been here, I've been looking at the village website, and I've mentioned to you a couple times, it seems to get better every time I look at it. They're always putting new information on it, and all of the things that the police department has to offer are listed on the website, along with forms. If it's something like a neighborhood watch or something, there's a form there how to get it and how to get that service from us. But we love to see the residents, and any resident that's interested is always welcome at the police department, and we are always welcome them and give them a tour if they're interested.
I know you're a busy guy. You got a few more minutes for me? We're going to take a little break.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with more Spotlight on Bensenville.
The Water's Edge Aquatic Center is conveniently located in the Redmond Recreational Complex in Bensenville. The Water's Edge is home of Fenton High School and Wahoo swim teams, featuring an indoor 8-lane lap pool and diving well. The Aquatic Center is available for private functions and parties. Learn to swim, stay in shape, or enjoy recreational swimming year-round at the Water's Edge Aquatic Center.
Staying connected is important, and at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening around town. Whether on your phone, desktop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website is your go-to community resource, so you'll stay connected at home, in the office, or on the go. Join us on social media. Visit the Bensenville homepage and click on the Facebook icon. This will take you to the Bensenville Facebook fan page. Once there, click the like button and add us to your newsfeed. To follow us on Twitter, visit the Bensenville homepage and click on the Twitter icon. This will take you to the Bensenville Twitter page. Once there, click the follow button and add us to your Twitter feed and receive regular community updates. For email and cell phone notifications, click on the Notify Me button. This will take you to the Notify Me dashboard. Add your email address and/or cell phone number at the top of the page. Then select which service you would like to receive updates from. Click on the envelope icon for email alerts and on the phone icon for phone alerts. You can choose one, the other, or both. Tune into our public access cable shows and board meetings. Choose a current program from the Multimedia tab down on the homepage. Bensenville Community Television is also web streamed 24 hours a day. To pay your Bensenville utility bill online, just click on the Online Payments button, then follow the instructions provided on our secure payment site. If you have any problems, Concerns or questions to tell the village, please visit the Report a Concern Center. Through the YourGov application, you can explain your issue and track its progress from submission to completion. Issues submitted through YourGov are forwarded directly to the responsible department. Staying connected is important, and at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening around town. On your phone, desktop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website is your go-to community resource, so you'll stay connected wherever you are.
Hi, and welcome back to Spotlight in Bensenville. My name is Frank DeSimone, your village president, and your host for this episode. Today we'll be getting to know our new police chief with our guest, Dan Schulze, Bensenville Police Chief. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's go back. I got a couple questions about basically your knowledge of the village now. So based upon that and our demographics, can you identify some program areas that you want to focus on going forward?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've lived in the area for almost all my life. I lived at 83 and 3rd for 21 years and worked in Schiller Park for 30 years. So I've traveled back and forth through the village every single day. My children attended school here. Our library was the Bensenville Library because we're in that district. So again, I'm very familiar with Bensenville, but now I'm going back and getting to learn some of the newer residents and people that have moved in. And we've changed some things at the police department, as we talked about earlier in the show, with the 12-hour shifts and things of that nature. But some of the other things that we're looking at doing is putting more detectives in the detective unit so that if crimes need to be followed up, we have the manpower and the wherewithal to do it. So we've added one detective so far, and we're considering adding another. Another thing that we're trying to do is be very responsive to the citizens. When I meet a citizen at the senior luncheon or in whatever capacity I meet them, I always take time to listen to their concerns. And some of the concerns obviously center around things like speeding autos, car accidents, passing stop school buses, things of that nature. So recently, one of the residents took time, actually this week, to hand write me a 3-page letter detailing speeding autos on George Street. So I approached the shifts with that, and we're going to look at putting our Speed Spy trailer out. But in the interim, the entire shift went out there yesterday and worked with a laser gun and made 6 traffic stops for speeding autos. We didn't notice anybody passing a stopped school bus like they mentioned, but that's hit or miss. We're going to have to keep watching. But the shift responded immediately, and the day after I received the letter, they were out there. And some of the people were given breaks. We don't write everybody we stop. Some people were given warnings or verbal warnings, written warnings, and 4 of the people received tickets. The people that were going at excessive speed received tickets. So we really like to be responsive to our community and let them know that when they call us or contact us in any way, it won't be overlooked or fall on deaf ears. I mean, sometimes other things may take precedent, and we may not get there as quickly as we did in this case, but if there's resources available, we'll certainly dedicate them.
I know working with you for many years, and we'd go on calls, a couple calls together, and a lot of the citizens would say, sorry to bother you, but we got to tell them, you're not bothering us, this is what we do for you, and make sure that residents know they can call us. That's why we're here.
Absolutely, and it's never a bother, no more than you'd thank a fireman for putting your house out if it was on fire. I mean, that's what they live for, and that's what they do, so you never have to thank us. We're always there for you day and night.
So police departments and law enforcement across the agencies across DuPage County and across the state are finding it very, very difficult to find new hires. I mean, what are we thinking, or how can we change our philosophy and our techniques to attract new hires?
We're experiencing that as well, actually. We started to take applications to give a test recently for entry-level police officer, and we received a lot less applications than we had anticipated. So we started to review that to see why. So the first thing we did is we called out to all the police departments around us and just asked them informally, how many applicants are you getting and what are your requirements? The one thing we noticed is that Bensenville is unique in that it requires a bachelor's degree to be a police officer. The only other town around here that had that requirement was Hinsdale and the Illinois State Police. Everyone else requires about 60 hours with no degree, so you can have credits in any discipline, and they'll take you as a police officer. We contacted our training company that does our testing, and they said they had done 3 years of research and actually found it was in some cases detrimental to request more education. The other thing we looked at was the economy. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the economy is doing well now, whoever you attribute that to, but the thing with the economy doing well is people who have bachelor's degrees are going out into the workforce and looking to make more money maybe than we can provide. Coincidentally, the week that we were looking at this, the Illinois State Police has a new director. The new director wrote a letter about the state police and his findings there once he got there. And what he found was the state police troopers are down 20% of their workforce. He's unable to hire qualified state troopers, and he hires throughout the entire state. So he's got the whole state to choose from, and we have this geographic area. You know, we have a much smaller pond to fish in. So the thing that he identified was the bachelor's degree, and he intends to reduce it for state troopers back to an associate's degree, thinking that he will get more qualified candidates. That's not something, obviously, that I can do, but I will approach the Board of Police Commissioners and make them aware, and it'll be their choice as to how we proceed. They will guide me with that, but that's something that I'll bring to their attention and seek their guidance on.
Explain some of the techniques that you use to keep all of us informed, you know, the board, myself, the village manager, on projects or problems or issues that you come across.
Well, again, the village manager is very organized and keeps us all on track with a weekly team leader meeting that he chairs. So all the team leaders from the village attend that meeting, and we all talk about what's happening at our respective departments, but also how we can interact and work together for something that's going to be village-wide. A good example is the recent carnival we had. We had a carnival that was hosted at the Deer Grove Leisure Center, and when I say we, I don't mean the police department, but the taxing bodies, the village, the fire district, all the taxing bodies of the village hosted the carnival. We had several meetings about that and then brought the information we had back to the team leader meeting. We also put together, and when I say we, again, it's a collective group, but Don Schulze specifically from emergency management put together an action plan so that whatever would happen, whether it was severe weather or anything else, we had a plan in place of who was going to address it and how it would be addressed. And then we bring those back to those team leader meetings and discuss with the other village departments how we can lend a hand or how we can interact or how we can collectively make that a success.
I know Don's plan was tested over the weekend for the carnival, a couple different days.
It was. It was.
What obstacles do you see facing law enforcement now and then, say, 5 years from now?
Well, one of the newest things to come down the road that we're all going to see is autonomous driving vehicles. And the United States Postal Service this week, this same week that we're filming this, did their first test from Phoenix to Denver with a semi-truck, 2,100 miles with a computer driving the truck. Now, there's a human in the truck as well, just in case. Mm-hmm. But they're going to try and make it the whole 2,100 miles round trip back and forth from Phoenix to Dallas and back with a computer driving the truck. You know, we're told that in the future, you're going to see a lot more of this. And when you order a pizza or you need some kind of service or Amazon delivers a package, it might be by a drone or by a car or by something that has no driver in it. And again, that's going to present some unique challenges for us because when we investigate an accident, there's nobody there and you can't question the computer, you can't give it a ticket, and I don't know how the laws are going to apply to a computer or the judges or court system are going to hold a computer accountable. So that's one thing we're looking at. Another thing that's a hot topic since we've gotten our new governor is the legalization of cannabis. So again, that's going to be a big hurdle for us because it's been illegal for probably my whole career. So now it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with and treat as more of a social issue or a social problem, kind of like alcohol and prohibition. When prohibition was stopped and alcohol became legal, we had to treat it more of a social problem. And if people have too much alcohol, we have mechanisms in place to test that and ways to deal with it. With cannabis, it's all new because the test has not been developed yet, and there are police departments in this area that are working with Northwestern to try and develop a test we can use. But what will likely happen is he may legalize it before those tests are in place. So when we stop someone, we're not going to have any way other than taking a blood sample, which a lot of people are going to be resistant to do. So again, technology has to catch up with some of these new things on the horizon.
But they throw a lot at us. We kind of adapt as we go along. I mean, just like in my career, I mean, my career is not quite as long yet as yours is. Concealed carry. I mean, for many, many years, you're coming up thinking, hey, if you find somebody with a gun hidden on them, it's a bad thing.
Right.
Now it's something that it's legal to do, and you just, like you said, we have to adjust and adapt. But Bensenville's guys and girls, ladies and men are professional to the utmost. I mean, I've come across many officers. Allison, for example, she goes above and beyond. So I think that our team here is phenomenal. I think they'll rise to the challenge as they have with the 12-hour shifts and the new police chief. And I think that they're going to go above and beyond. And I'm proud to be the leader, one of their leaders, and proud to have you on board with us. But I think that our police department can overcome any challenge.
I agree with you, and honestly, we'd have to name off all 35 officers because everyone is better than the other. I mean, they're all great, and I've talked to my deputy chief as recently as this week, and when I addressed the Board of Police Commissioners, we talked about changing the requirements or maybe changing the bachelor's degree. It's one of those things where, like when they made new Coke, you almost don't want to mess with success if you have a good recipe. And whatever Bensenville's doing, I mean, we have a really good recipe because we have a really good mix of officers and they complement each other. Each has different strengths and weaknesses, but they're all willing to roll up their sleeves and work together. So whatever the village has been doing and the police commission has been doing, they've been doing it right. So we don't want to tinker with that too much, but we certainly want to get applicants.
And I enjoy seeing you come to the board and offering the kudos and the awards and the citations to our officers, and I want them to keep doing that. We'll have the recognition, and it's well deserved. And as many times as we have to do it, we will do it. I mean, I appreciate that, and officers in general like to hear that they've done good. Because
Yes.
we're so used to hearing that we've done bad. It's good to see that we do good things, and please don't ever stop doing that for our officers.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the officers, I'll say thank you.
We're winding down, so again, tell our residents how they can get a hold of you and what's the best way to do that and to learn more about the Bensenville Police Department.
Well, my door is always open. Our police department's open 24 hours a day. If any residents have questions, they can always contact me or the police department. If they're interested in seeing the police department, they're always welcome for a tour. And our website is a great place to look because it's always being updated. So if anything new is coming out, the website gets it first. If it's a job posting or something we're going to host, it's always out there. So the website's definitely a good tool.
Thanks for coming on the show. We'll hope to have you back again.
Thank you for having me.
Again, remember, when you call us, you're not bothering us, so that's what we're here for. The police are here all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, here to serve us and protect us. And I thank all of our officers for doing that. And again, I'll say goodbye for now, but we'll see you soon on Spotlight on Bensenville.